Welcome to Office 2010 Video Project 9. In this video, we're still studying Word. We are going to create a research paper and learn all sorts of amazing tricks that'll make you want to go out and write a research paper. Well, not really, but doing headers and footers and bibliographies and footnotes are a lot easier if you know tricks in Word. Now, let's open up Windows Explorer. I'm going to use Window E. We're going to navigate to our Highline folder. Winter 2000, remember whatever quarter you're in, that's where you're going. 2016 class notes Word. Now, that's just our location. We're actually going to go download a file now. So now I'm going to open up a browser. For those of you in the class, you can go to Angel, Word Class Content. For those of you that are not in the class, you can just click on the link below the video. We want to download. I'm not going to make us type our research paper during this project. We're actually going to copy all the text and paste it. And then we're going to see all the cool tricks like footnotes and headers and footers and the like. All right, so when you get to this link right here, we're going to Word. And we want to, in the Chapter 2 area, we want to download two things, 1 and 2. Now, this is the handout. Usually, I don't look at this during the video, but I'm going to look at this just for a moment. I'm going to save this. I'm going to direct it to my jump drive, Highline, Winter 2016 class notes Word. There it is. Where do you want to save it? What do you want to call it? What type? Click Save. I'm going to click Close. And then finally, this is the start file for Project 9 research paper. It says research paper, no formatting. So I'm going to click on that, save. And luckily, we just went to this location. So it's ready to go. This is the start file. I'm going to click Save. Close. I'm going to close this browser. All right. Now, I want to open up first Office 2010 Video Project 9. Double click. And since we're doing a research paper, we have to talk about documentation style. Now, there's a bunch of different types of documentation styles. Perhaps MLA and APA are the most popular. They're just some rules. So here are some examples of a documentation style for MLA, Modern Language Association, or the American Psychological Association, which we're not going to look at this one. Double space all text. Margins have to be 1 inch. Indent first word of each paragraph a ½ inch from the left margin. Oh, in our last video, we saw a great trick for implementing this. The header, last name, and then page number, a ½ inch from the top margin. No cover page. Title centered below this block right here. Citations are going to be author references, parenthetical with author name and page number. We'll see how to do that. Citations are the big improvement in Word 2007 and continued in 2010. It's just really easy to cite and create bibliographies, or a list of works cited. Here's our notes. Notes in this style are, for example, explanatory notes. We'll see how to do that. Works cited. There's some rules for how you set up that. We'll see. Excuse me. We'll see how to set up our bibliography in essence. And the only one last thing about the works cited is we're going to have to use a hanging indent, and that'll be a paragraph level formatting, as we talked about in the last video. All I did in this handout is summarize what's in the textbook, MLA Documentation Style. Now I'm going to close this. We're going to try and implement those rules and see good tricks to make it really easy, so we're not sitting there with rulers measuring everything. Now I'm immediately going to, or I'm going to come down to Video Project 9 Research Paper, no formatting, and hit Enter to open it. Now, we're not going to use this file right here, but we are going to keep it open. And we are periodically going to come over and copy stuff from here and paste it into the research paper that we're creating. I just don't want to take the time during the video to type. All right, what's the keyboard shortcut to open up a new file? Whether in Excel or Word, it is Control-N. N as the letter N. Document 1, I'm going to hit F12, and I'm immediately going to save it down to Highline, 216, Word, and I'm immediately going to call it. So we got the location. I'm going to call it research paper. I have cap locks on. If only I could type research paper. Something like done. All right, now the very first thing we're going to do two things. We're going to look at margins, and we're also going to look at what's called the normal style, and we're going to modify it. Because the normal style we're going to use in the text of the research paper. The footnotes are based on normal style. And we want to have things like font size 12 and double spacing. We actually hinted at modifying this in our last video. All right, before we talk about the margins, actually, let's talk about the margins first, and then we'll talk about styles. Now, how do I get to margins? It is a section level formatting. We don't need to worry about section level. We're going to have the same margins in the whole paper. Page layout right here. Page setup dialog box is where we do margins. The keyboard shortcut is Alt PSP. Now, by default, look at this. It's set up 1, 1, 1, 1. So the top, bottom, left, right margins are all an inch. So the defaults in Word just happen to match the defaults for our MLA documentation style. So I'm going to click OK. Now I'm going to go back. Here's page layout. I'm going to go to the Home tab in the ribbon, and I want to modify this. Normal is what comes up on by default in most of your when you open up Word. Now let's just come over here and look at the paragraph settings before we even modify it. Right-click, paragraph, and we can see here's something totally annoying. 10 points after each paragraph. When you hit Enter, there's 10 extra points. 1.15 line spacing. We don't want any of that. But what we're going to do is, by default, that's normal. So we're going to come up here and modify it from now. So for now on, in this document, we don't have to keep changing things. Right-click and modify. Now, here's the name of the style. Style for the following paragraph is going to be normal. We're going to change it to New Times Roman, down to the ends. Times New Roman, sorry. Maybe I don't know how to spell. Boop. I'm going to change it there. And I'm going to change it to 12. Now, those are character level formatting. But we also want to change some paragraph level formatting. Now, in the textbook, they actually show you a really cool, interesting way, alternative way to do this. But I'm going to come down here to format, because when you change a style like this, you can change all sorts of things. What we want is paragraph. So I'm going to click paragraph, and we've seen this before. Look at that. And there it is, that annoying after for normal. So I'm going to make this 0. And for us, we're going to change this to double. All right. And we don't want to do first line, because we are going to use this normal style in a couple different places. Sometimes we're going to use first line, sometimes we're not. So we're definitely not going to change that. But these two things we are for paragraph level formatting. Click OK. So we've changed 4 things. 1, 2, character level formatting, and then 2 things down under here under paragraph. Now I'm going to click OK. All right. Next, we want to add a header and footer. And in this style, you have to put your name, since you're writing the paper, and a page number. Now, how do we show the header and footer? I'm going to go to Insert, Header, and I'm going to go down to Edit. Again, if this is something you do all the time, you know, header and footers, you create 10 papers at work a week or something. You're always doing header and footers. You might want to memorize the Alt keyboard shortcuts. All right. By default, it comes up on the left. I want it on the right. That's what our style says. Now, there's an A couple ways we could do this. We could do Control R, and you could see it's aligned over there. I'm going to Control L. You could go to Paragraph and change it there. You could also do this method. This is called click. I forget what it's called. Click and align or something. Click and type. That's what it's called. So notice when my cursor's in the middle. See the little icon below my I-beam? It shows centered over here. It shows left, and over here it shows right. That little icon sitting on the left says right align. If you go look at page setout, home, you see they're the same icons as these. So now if I come over here and click, double click, it click and type is what it's called, and it aligns to the right there. Now I'm going to type, you type your name. And where I'm typing your name, I want you to type your name. If only I could spell. I hope you guys are laughing when every time I misspell a word. And then space. Now, as we create more pages in our research papers, we do not want to have to edit this and come type your name 1, and then on page 2, your name 2. So no problem. There's a built-in, notice these context-sensitive ribbons over here. I've come over to the home, and I went to page layout, but now I want to come back to here. Now there's a few ways we can insert some special code that will put in a page number. Now I'll let the textbook show you. It's actually quite easy. Current position right here. You could do it that way. And then it doesn't. I'm going to Control Z. If you ever get more in depth into Word, you can go to Quick Parts and Field. This is where there's a bunch of stuff. Most of this is way beyond the scope of this class, but there's a whole list. And then down here, we'd want Page. And then click OK or double click. So obviously, page number, current position. Excuse me, that's an easier way to go. Now, we're done with our header. I'm going to click this Close. Boop. Notice it's grayed out. You could get to it any time by actually double-clicking and then editing it. Now, just for kicks, I want to see if this is going to work. What happens when I Control-Enter and go to the next page? Oh, that is so cool. Look at that. So now we have an automatic header that changes. Now I'm going to Control ZZ to get back up here. Now, the next part of this research paper, we're not allowed to have a title page. We're supposed to put some information at the top in a block. Now, I'm going to be going back and forth between this Word document and the other Word document. So I'm going to use Alt-Tab. I'm going to highlight this, copy, Alt-Tab, and Control-V. All right, now I would like to, this is a smart tag, which we will get to see how to use in just a moment. Smart tags go away as soon as you start doing something like hitting space, and it's gone. And actually, it's gone forever. Now, in this style, you got to put the name of the professor, the English, the name of the class, and then we want to have today's date. So we saw this before. Insert date and time, and then select this one for example. Now, this is something that's very common, too, so you might want to learn the Alt keyboard shortcuts. Alt, notice it says N, so I hit N. Notice it says D, so I hit D. Alt and D. Now, I still have this memorized from earlier versions, and I've actually mentioned this a few times in this class so far. What happens when you hit Alt, and in the earlier Word, 2003 and before, the insert, in our case, we're using tabs, ribbons, but it was an insert menu. So if you hit, in earlier versions, you had to hit I to get to insert. And notice what it says here. Office access keys, Alt-I. This is just like a compatibility check. It knows that there's no I here anymore because this is from an earlier version. So at this point, if you don't have it memorized, you're lost. But I remember Alt-I-T for time. That's date and time, Alt-I-T. All right, I'm going to select this. Now I'm going to hit Enter. And the next part is we have to put the title of our paper before we type the bulk of the paper. I'm going to Alt-Tab, Antivirus Programs. I'm going to highlight Control C. Notice I'm highlighting the paragraph mark. Control V. I can Control V'd. Now, actually, let me Control Z on that. And imagine I didn't go over there and copy this. The title has to be centered. So we have to go back to Home and right here, or the keyboard shortcut, Control E. I just want to illustrate a point. Notice, and then I'm going to hit Enter. And I'm going to align it back because the rest of this paper will be the text. And I'm going to Control L, or this one right here. Notice when you Control E, the orange box moves, and Control L, the orange box moves back. Now, I want to illustrate a point here. We have some formatting that we've just applied right there. OK? So let's Alt-Tab. And we're not paying attention, right? We accidentally highlight the paragraph mark. Because we're highlighting the paragraph mark, alignment is a paragraph level formatting. So there's some formatting in that paragraph mark. Control C for copy, Alt-Tab, and Control V. Now, what happened? It actually kept this paragraph mark from the other paper, which was aligned left, and pushed this one down. But is there a smart tag here? Yes, there is. Let's just go click on the smart tag. And we want use destination. No, so we want this one. Keep text only. And notice it will kind of override the fact that we weren't paying attention over there when we copied it. Now I'm going to Control Z and do this again. Really, if you're paying attention, you just come over here and you don't copy that, because we don't want the formatting from the paragraph. We just want text. Control C, Alt-Tab, Control V. All right, I'm going to save. Control Save, 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 Save. Now, for the rest of the text, before we get to the bibliography or the work cited, we're going to need first line indent. So I want to add some paragraph formatting to this paragraph. And then as we hit Enter, 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 it'll carry forward. So I'm going to right-click, Paragraph. We have our double line space. And we have these, which are just fine. But we want an indentation and a first line. Now, we saw this in our last video, number 8 video, where we did this and carried it forward. But what this means is from now on, because we're required to have a first line indent of 0.5 inches, we're adding it as a paragraph level formatting. And it will just automatically occur. And you could see the little sample down here as we carry this forward. I'm going to click OK. Control S. Now I'm going to Alt-Tab, and I'm going to highlight the bulk of this text. Now, there is no great way to not include these paragraph marks. So we're actually going to take advantage of the smart tag. I want to highlight all the way to the end. And I'm going to use that trick. I have the beginning part of our the cursor flashing at the beginning. I'm going to hold Shift, and then I'm going to click at the end. Everything in between is highlighted. Control C, Alt-Tab. Control C copies. Alt-Tabs jumps me back over here, and Control V. Now notice it didn't carry our it didn't keep our formatting, but no problem. Smart tags are awesome. I'm going to say keep text only. I love it. All right, so we want a footnote. I'm actually going to zoom in. Our footnote's going to be down in the second paragraph. The first sentence, I'm going to click right at the end and try to zoom in here. There it is. So the end of the first sentence in the second paragraph. And now we need a footnote. Footnote is going to be for MLA. It will be an explanatory note. So it'll explain something in a little greater detail that's put down in a footnote in case someone who's curious wants to know. And in general, you do that when you don't want to disturb the flow of the paper. It's kind of like an extra piece of information. All right, so we need to put a 1 here, and then draw a line, and then draw out the explanatory note and whatever refer to it in our citations. So how do we insert a footnote? There's this great tab that came in 2007 and is continued in 2010. We can do things like a footnote, which we're about to do, our citations, which we'll do. We'll insert a bibliography, our style. And in fact, we should change this right now. We're going to use MLA. Then when you do things like insert a bibliography, it'll know what kind of style, or it'll give a pretty good guess at what kind of style you want. All right. Also, another thing in this tab here, later at the end of our study in Chapter 3, we'll see how to use table of contents also on the reference tab. All right, insert a footnote. Now, you're not going to believe this. When you click, I'm just going to click, and just like that, it puts a little 1 right there, draws a line, and then gets ready for us to type out our explanatory note. Now, get this. I'm going to date myself here. I remember writing college papers years ago. And sure enough, I had to type this out. I had to draw a line and type it all out. And when I edited something up here in my revision, I had to do it all over again. But no problem. Footnotes and all of our citations, everything we're going to do is totally automatic. So if I add paragraphs up here, it will all adjust perfectly. Even if this paragraph right here ends up on the next page, that footnote will appear at the bottom of the next page. All right. I'm going to go over Alt-Tab. Oops. To our Word document, and I'm going to grab this, and I am not going to grab that paragraph mark. Please don't grab that paragraph mark. Control-C to copy, and then I'm going to, oops, Control-C, Alt-Tab to jump back over here, Control-V to paste. Now, we are going to have to add a citation, but we want to look at what happens when you add a footnote. Now, I want you to come up here and write. Whoops. I want to compare what happens when we right-click here to here. So I'm going to click up here, and now I'm going to right-click. Now, there's a Styles button here that allows you to put styles. But I'd like to see what's different about the styles when we click down here. So I'm going to right-click. Oh, it's not going to show me styles because it wants me to fix this. OK, so I'm going to right-click and ignore once. Oh, let's see. So now I'm going to right-click here. Style. Notice how that's totally different. What it's doing is it's sensing when you put a footnote in, an automatic footnote style is applied, and it does not fit the rules for our MLA documentation style. So we actually have to modify it. And what this means when you see this and it doesn't have that little drop down to select a style like we saw up in the Home tab ribbon, when you click it, it opens the Style dialog box. And we're allowed to modify it. Notice it automatically, it sensed that we had footnote text. So now I'm going to click Modify. You can already see it's not right. I'm going to click Modify, Times New Roman. I'm going to click 12. And just as we did with normal, I'm going to come down here to Paragraph. Check it all out. Make sure, OK, no spaces. We want double. And we want first line. So this is in the footnote text style. I'm going to click OK. Now, everywhere else we use this in this document, again, and I should have pointed this out with the normal, only in this document. That was true with our normal also we just a moment ago. If you want new documents based on this template, you can click that, but we don't. We just want it in this particular file. So I'm going to click OK. Click Apply. All right, now we have our footnote. And just to illustrate, let's illustrate. I'm going to highlight that very carefully and Control-X. It went away. And just for kicks, I'm going to paste it right here, Control-V. That is just so incredible. If only this was around 20 years ago when I was writing my research paper. All right, I'm going to Control-Z and Control-Z again, and there it is. OK, so we did a footnote. Now we need to see how to do citations, because this idea comes from someone else. And we're going to create a citation using the insert citation. And guess what? What's so cool about this is we can insert a citation, type out all the information for this book, because this is from a book, and it will automatically we'll be able to reference that information in the citation, and it will automatically pop out in our bibliography when we create that automatically at the end. All right, I'm going to click after horse but before period and type a space, and then go up to Insert Citation. Now, placeholder, the textbook does this. This is a placeholder. If you don't have your information right near you to type out, then you'd want to put a placeholder and come back later. But we have our information, so I'm going to say Add New Source. And again, the cool thing about this is it will be connected. There'll be one general location that this information is stored, and both the citations and the bibliography will be able to reference this. Another cool thing about Create Source is when you select like an article in a periodical, watch what happens to these dialog boxes. So it actually helps you to figure out what exactly is required for this citation. All right. I'm going to type this out. I'm a slow typer. Bolowski, Dana, and then tab, tab. Actually, the title is what we need. Protection and precaution, keeping your computer healthy. I hope I didn't misspell every word there. OK. Actually, I'm sorry. This is not a book. I'm going to copy this just in case. I'm going to change this to, actually, it'll remain because the title is the same field. I want article in a periodical. That's what I want. So this is from an article in a periodical. So we got the author. We have the title. The periodical title, we're going to say Computing Today. And then tab, the year is 2008. Tab, the month will be the day, and then the page is 55 to 61. OK, and by the way, there's a little box here you can check, and it will show you all the possible fields. This is a filter in essence, but if you don't want to adhere by that filter, you can click that, and it will show you all the text boxes. This is actually a tag that's created that later when you look at your list of all the sources, it'll allow you to search quickly. All right, I'm going to click OK. Look at that. It shows us our Bolowski right here. I know I'm not pronouncing that right. But you know what? We already have this author's name here, so we don't really need that. This is called a little citation option box here. And you want to click in it, and then when you see the little bloop and the bloop, you come over here on the gray drop down. We want to say Edit Citation. And this is the Edit Citation. And we want to suppress the author because it will be duplicate, and then we can put our pages here. 55 to 61. And that's all that will show up in the citation. I'm going to click OK. Whoops. Edit and title. So all we're going to suppress author and title and just keep the page numbers. All right, now we need to do another citation. We're going to do two more. We're going to come up to, OK. That's the second paragraph, and it's right at the end here. OK, now this citation is going to give credit for this idea just mentioned. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to type a space. Again, we're adding citations. Little parentheses with information inside. So the information we enter here will also show up in our bibliography. All right, so we go up to Insert Citation, and I want, oh, and look, the one we just created is available if we use it over and over again. I'm going to say New Source. And this one is a book. And the author is going to be Karanos. Hector. The title is Internet Security. The year is 2008. The city is Indianapolis. Citywide Cyber Press is the publisher. Let's see, Citywide Cyber. All right, and that ought to do it for that one. I'm going to click OK. Now we want to adjust this right here. Click right here. Do the drop down, edit citation. All we want to do is add the page numbers 201 to 205, and then click OK, and it will show both. Now we have one other citation, so we'll have 3 parenthetical entries, 3 different sources. And this will be our third, and then we'll create our works cited list. All right, so we have to come down to the third paragraph. According to Shelley and Cashman, the authors of our textbook, and we're going to put one right here. So I'm going to type a space, and we're going to go to Insert New Source. And this one's going to be from a document from the website. All right, so the author, and then I'm just going to type all this out and hit pause, and then you can copy it if you want. All right, so website, we put the author name, the name of the web page, the information from when we accessed, and the website. I'm going to click OK. Similar problem here. We don't need to repeat the author's name, so I'm going to point to this. And we would like to suppress author, edit citation, suppress author, and then the title should come up just fine. That's by the default. All right, so 1, 2, 3. Now, let's control roll. Excuse me. We have our footnote. We have our 3 citations. Now, we want to come to the end, and our works cited has to be on the next page. So how do we get to the next page? We don't do this. Enter, 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 enter. Control Z. You control enter. Control enter. With the non-printing characters turned on, we can see a page break. That's the proper way. Now, we've got to put works cited and then basically click a button, and our bibliography will be created. But there's a problem here. Let's go ahead and type works cited. Enter. What's the problem? It doesn't look very, we're supposed to center it. Oh, yeah, so how about this? Control E or home, that one right there. It doesn't look centered to me. Oh, yeah. We have first line indent, and we don't want it. So I'm going to right-click, paragraph, and then turn this first line none. Click OK. Actually, I should have done that and then hit enter. Right-click, paragraph, first line none. Now, we're going to go back to references. We have our MLA. So now when we go to bibliography, I'm going to go insert. In the textbook, they use this, but I already typed works cited. I'm going to type insert bibliography. You got to be kidding me. Hanging indent and all. Underline, quotes. It's all automatic. Is that just amazing? Now, a couple more things. Word count. Sometimes when you're doing papers, you have to worry about words. There's an automatic word count in the status bar here. This source right here, what if you need to edit some of it? No problem. References, and you go to, excuse me, manage sources. Now, here are the ones that we used in this book right here. You can select any one of them and edit. And then you go ahead and edit it. Click OK. Now, you click Close, and you can edit which one. In fact, you can add new ones here, too. This is a master list. This is our current list. I'm going to click Close over here. You can always right-click, and this is a field. We'll see fields a few other times in this class as we go forward. You can right-click and update at any time if things change. One important other note about an automatic feature like this that's a field, sometimes you don't want it to be a field anymore. You don't want it to be dynamic. You want it to be static. And so in order to convert a field to text, you have to use the keyboard shortcut Control Shift F9. This is in my notes and in the textbook, but Control Shift and F9. I'm going to Control Z. We can also use Control F. Let's see if I can remember. Control Z. Alt F9. Alt F9 toggles between the code underneath, and then I'm going to hit Alt F9 again, and the actual thing that the code generates. So Alt F9 is what toggles. Alt F9. Oops, Control Z. I did that again. I hit Control. You ready? I'm going to click there. Alt F9. Alt F9, it's a toggle. And then Control Shift. So if I highlight all this and Control Shift F9, it converts it to static text. I'm going to Control Z on that. Now, Control S. I do want to show you one other thing. The textbook shows you find and replace. I got to show you a great example of find and replace. I'm going to, this is research paper done. I'm going to Control N to create a new file. I'm going to Alt Tab. I'm going to close this. I'm going to, up here, I'm going to hit F12 to name it. I'm going to save it. We got to look at find and replace. Find and replace has so many great uses in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. I'm going to save it. Whoops. Save it to my Highline. Class notes, the pluses, we get to Word here, and I'm going to call this find and replace. Now here's our example. In the textbook, they just have you find the word we console and replace it with we. Book, textbook, bookworm, bookkeeper. I think it's like that. 1, 2, 3. Is that right? No. Oh, I got it wrong. Well, I got one too many P. There's not 4 duplicates in a row. Bookkeeper. Booking, like when we used to race bicycles and you went really fast, you'd be booking. Book. Now, let's say you have a huge file, and your goal is to change the word book to text. Now, if you did this universally, it would be disaster. If you do it one at a time, then find and replace can be quite awesome. All right, so I'm going to first zoom in, Control and roll the wheel. All right, and then I'm going to go up to, in the Home ribbon, Find, Advanced Find. Now, this is different than earlier versions. You used to be able to just go to Find, and then behind Find was a Replace. But now you got to go to Advanced Find and click on Replace. Totally awesome. Find what? Find what, and then replace with. Now, again, this is going to work in PowerPoint, in Word, Excel. In Excel, it's even amazing. You can not only look for words, you can look for parts of formulas. But here, all we want to do is find the word book and replace with text. Now, the big mistake people make, and then you can wreck your whole file, is usually you want to say find next and then look at each one, find next, and if you want to replace it, replace. But if you click replace all, just like that, you've destroyed your paper. There's a text, a text worm, a text keeper, texting. Oh, well, that's a word. But it's just not a word for going fast on a bicycle and text. I'm going to Control Z, go up here, and I'm going to do it properly. All right, find next. OK, that one I want to replace. Find next, no. Find next, find next, find next, find next, I want to replace. I recently worked on a book project, and this find and replace was like the savior. There were hundreds of pages, and I wrote this book, and of course I'm a bad typer, and I can't spell, and punctuation and grammar, I'm terrible at it. But boy, when the editor found something that needed to be changed universally, I do this find, replace, and go through one at a time and change them. All right, so that's just a little bit about find. In this video, we did research paper with all those tricks. Just makes me want to go out and write more research papers. All right, next chapter is chapter 3 in Word, and we'll talk about business letters, resume, and tables, and a few other topics before we move on to PowerPoint. All right, see you next video.